Good afternoon, I'm Richard Higgs from Harold Stevens. Today we're talking about mum who is having to move into a care home, and I thought it'd be a good idea to take you through some of the financial considerations of that, some of the things to look out for, some of the pitfalls, some of the decisions that might have to be made, and some of the places that you can go for support. So I am going to assume that you are your mum is a self-funder, that she's got more than £23,250 in assets. If she does have less than that, still get in touch, but we can signpost her to trusted partners that can ensure that she's getting all of the benefits that she is due in that situation. But for the purposes of the video, I'm going to assume that she's got more than 23,250 in assets, and then in effect she's a self-funder. So mum is moving into a care home. The first thing to do really is to do some basic profit and loss accounts in terms of what income does she have. She'll have potentially a pension income. She might have income from different sources like portfolios or property, and then work out what the cost of care is going to be. We're based in Westbury-on-Trim in BS9. We have clients all over kind of northwest Bristol, and we know that the cost of care can be north of 50,000, if not 70, 80,000 per year. So we have quite an in-depth knowledge of the local care homes in the area. So definitely get in touch anyway if you need any help in terms of costings of that. But it's very likely that she'll have some sort of shortfall. It's unlikely that she's going to have enough income from pensions and what have you to pay for that cost of care. So the first thing to do is arrive at that kind of deficit to work out what we're going to do going forward. The first thing I would do would be to just explore NHS continuing healthcare, just to see whether she's eligible for that or not. Obviously, NHS care is free at the point of need, and so it could mean the difference between paying, £75,000 a year to getting all of your costs, including residential costs, paid for by the NHS. Now, it's only reserved for the most vulnerable clients, patients that have got kind of complex health needs, unpredictable outcomes, but it is worth exploring. If your mum is going to a care home, she's clearly not in a great way, and so it's just worth having a look to see whether she does qualify for this. There are hundreds of thousands of people in the UK that might be eligible for NHS continuing healthcare that don't get it or don't even apply for it. So there is an initial checklist which is carried out by a medical professional just to see whether you have any chance, or mum has any chance of qualifying. And if she gets through that, the second stage is a multidisciplinary full assessment to see whether she qualifies for NHS continuing healthcare. Again, we have trusted partners that can take you through that process, and you can appeal. So if you don't succeed at the first attempt, you can appeal that decision. And remember, you can reapply down the line if your mum deteriorates further. So definitely consider NHS continuing healthcare as a potential option to fund the care, even if you are a self-funder. The other thing to bear in mind is NHS funded nursing care. So if your mum is going into a care home that's providing nursing care for her, the NHS should be contributing towards, and it's just over £200 a week, towards the care costs, the nursing care costs. It will be paid directly from the NHS to the care home. And remember that to get that breakdown of the total cost, so that should be reduced from your mum's invoice from the care home, the funded nursing care cost. So that's NHS continuing healthcare and funded nursing care is two things to look into to make sure that your mum doesn't qualify for NHS care, which is obviously free at the point of need. Having looked at NHS potential payments, then you're looking at a general kind of financial assessment of the situation. So of course, the care home will take all of your income, so your pension income, property income, all that kind of thing. But remember, there are some potential disregards. So if mum has moved to the care home, but she has much bigger pension than dad, who is still living in the family home, if dad still needs her pension or some of her pension to live on a day-to-day basis, his cost of living, up to 50% of mum's income can be diverted to dad to pay for his ongoing living and just to pay for life on a day-to-day basis. So remember that, and remember the capital disregards. So that means that the first 12 weeks that your mum is in the care home, the property, the main house, shouldn't be taken into account. This is to give your mum time to settle in, to see how she's going, to allow the house to still be available to her should she want to move back into the family home. So the first 12 weeks of time in the nursing home, the main property, the main family home should be disregarded, and that shouldn't be used to pay for care. In addition to that, there are other disregards. So there's investment bonds, life insurance investment bonds should still be disregarded. The rules haven't changed. They are disregarded from the financial assessment. And remember, any money that you paid into trust or any trust type arrangements that you've previously set up, again, those assets should depending on the nature of the trust, should be disregarded from the assessment. I'm quite happy to support you through that process to make sure that you're claiming everything that you need to claim, and they're disregarding the assets that should be disregarded, that are safe from paying for care fees. Another thing that's not means tested is attendance allowance. So as long as you qualify for attendance allowance, especially on the day and night rate, you can get in excess of £5,000 per year, which is definitely worth having, which isn't means tested. You can still have other assets, and if you're self-funding in the care home itself, again, you should still qualify for attendance allowance. That's really good. That goes towards the cost of care, so definitely worth making sure that you're qualifying and claiming attendance allowance. Again, if you need help with that, I can direct you to Age UK's got quite good section on their website on how to claim for attendance allowance. If not, I have trusted partners that can take you through that process. One other thing to look out for is any pre-funded insurance plans or any insurance, long-term care insurance that was taken out by mum back in the 1990s. These were quite popular back in the day, and your mum might have taken one out. So look through those cupboards and drawers, look through those files just to make sure she didn't take out one of these plans. As part of the financial planning process, we'll do our best to do the due diligence to see if she has or she's got a record of any of these plans, but definitely look through the house to make sure she hasn't, because they could be quite valuable. They're not available anymore to take out new plans, but as I said, in the 1990s they were quite popular, so mum might have taken one out, so definitely check to see whether she has got one of those in place. So there are a few kind of considerations, but generally speaking, what happens is mum is moving into a care home and the house, the main family home, is left empty, and decisions need to be made around what to do with the house. So clearly the first option is to retain the property. Mum might have she will have an emotional attachment to the home. She might not want to sell it in her lifetime. She might want to have that feeling that it's still available within the family. And so there are options to kind of keep the house within the family and not have to sell it. The first option might be a deferred payment arrangement. Now, these are effectively a way of paying for care using your family home. It's only really available if all of your other assets have gone down to below the threshold, down to below the 23,250. So you're only left with the family home. In that scenario, the local authority should allow you to apply and receive a deferred payment agreement to effectively use your home to pay for care in your lifetime and not have to sell the home in your lifetime. Obviously, that has the benefit of, if you didn't want to sell it in lifetime, to keep the house within your estate. You might think that property prices are going to increase, so you might benefit from the increase in that property over time, and you could rent it out. You could generate an income, and that might be the preferred option anyway, to have it lived in and having that paying the bills and the rates and what have you. And so that could be an option if you're in that situation, to keep that house in your estate. Obviously, the downside is that there is an interest rate to that. It used to be virtually nothing. Now it is 4%, I believe, is the current rate of the DPAs. And that's an open-ended debt, so that'll kind of increase as mum's, paying for care over time. And I suppose it's a little bit naughty that, although the house doesn't have to be sold in lifetime, it will have to eventually be sold after your mum's passed away to pay back that debt. Another option might be to rent it out. So you can generate an income, get that house, working for your mum better, rather than having it kind of standing empty. So that'll generate an income for her. So getting it working for her, again, it means that the house is staying in the estate and potentially might go up in price over time. You could decide to sell the house at a time of your choosing. I suppose the downside to that is, the big downside is, how much rental income are you actually generating from that house, and is it enough? Because if it's not enough income to pay for the care, that means that there's a problem. We need to pay for the cost of care. So other downsides are things like having to keep up the maintenance, the tax problems, the fact that you've got to keep up with the landlord's legislation, and deal with times where you don't always have a tenant in the house. So it's not always as easy and lucrative as it sometimes sounds to rent out the house. So, but it is another option to kind of look at. One option that isn't available now for people moving into a care home is equity release. It just isn't available now to take out an equity release contract to pay for care. So in a care home. So equity release is more to be used if you want to bring in care, domiciliary care, into your own home to get support and care just in your home. And the other option, of course, is to sell the house, which is by far and away the most common thing. Families do tend to arrive at the decision that it's best all round, to sell the home. And that will involve obviously selling the house, and that will produce a lump sum, which is then available to you to pay for mum's care when she moves into a care home. The options really are threefold. You can have the money in the bank. We've seen interest rates rise recently. Has the advantage that there's no investment risk. It'll kind of sit there in the deposit accounts, and you can draw down on the cash. So I suppose that's a simple option. The downside of that is that, obviously over time you're just eroding away the capital to pay for care costs, and we've seen in the past that all assets can go if your mum needs care over a number of years period. And of course, there's the additional hassle of trying to keep under the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, which is still $85,000 for bank deposits. We don't want to see another 2008 where banks were going bust. So there's a bit of kind of admin and work involved in kind of moving money about, between cash deposits. You could invest some of the money, which arguably gets your money working harder for you over the long term, which might be better for your eventual beneficiaries of your mum's estate, or potentially inheritance tax planning for your mum's estate. More kind of longer term play, I suppose. Obviously the downside is that in the short term there's no guarantees of how that investment will work out, so it's kind of much more of a kind of a longer term decision. But you know, if you do have money left over that's not needed for short term needs, that could be an idea for the family to decide to do on behalf of your mum. And the third option is an immediate care plan, which is where you put a lump sum into an immediate care plan, and then it will pay out an income directly to the care provider, completely tax-free, which basically guarantees the level of care fees for as long as your mum lives. So that has the obvious advantages that you have peace of mind to know that money will never run out. Your mum can stay with dignity and care in the same setting that she is in from the outset, without having to worry about kind of the management and paying for care costs in the future. There's no investment risk to that. And of course then it ring fences, or it caps the cost of care. So it's ensuring that we don't get into this situation where, you know, money's running out and then potentially we have to go down the road of moving homes, or trying to get the local authority to pay for that care. So definitely consider an immediate care plan at least. I mean, it might be a combination of all three might be the best solution. So an immediate care plan to ensure your mum gets the very best of care forever, for as long as she lives, which ring fences that part of her money. Have some money in the bank for emergencies, any short-term needs, any changes in circumstances, and then have some longer-term investments, either for her for the long term or for the family, eventual beneficiaries, to ensure the money's working harder for them, and potentially some inheritance tax planning depending upon the circumstances. So ideally, potentially a combination of all three. But definitely, if you need to talk through those options and kind of plan them through, definitely get in touch. We can have an initial discussion with you to talk about your mum's situation and kind of work around the best kind of solution, or the best kind of plan for her situation. Obviously, with mainly dealing with the families and really specifically the attorneys for your mum. So 99% of the time you'll be the attorney for your mum's plans. Just a few points on that. First of all, to get your lasting power of attorneys done, if you haven't done them for your mum, pretty much ASAP, because it's really hard if they're not in place. You have to apply to the Courts of Protection. It's just a very horrible, long-winded, expensive exercise. So get the first thing first, get the lasting power of attorneys organised ASAP. There's a financial and property one, and that enables you to deal with your mum's property, her finances, pensions, investments, to make decisions around that. And a health and welfare one, which enables you to make decisions around her care setting, what care home to go to, medication, even down to life-sustaining treatment. So it's really important that while your mum has capacity to get those things in place, that you can follow through with her wishes over time. Some legal considerations as attorney. So it is there's a number of legal responsibilities that you have to comply with as attorney for your mum's, you know, finances and kind of living arrangements. You have to work in the best interests of your mum. That's probably the first thing to say. So every decision you make, every financial consideration, every living arrangement has to be in her interests, and you have to take reasonable skill and judgment and have that kind of level of attention to her decision making around finances, specifically really around financial planning. You need to kind of adhere to the terms of the lasting power of attorney. So your mum might have made specific wishes within that. She might have done letters of wishes alongside the LPA document, all of which need to be kind of complied with. And just to make sure that, certainly when I talked about all these different financial plans, that you're assessing these properly and professionally and making sure that they're suitable for her situation. The obvious potential hiccup really is the potential conflict of interest between family members and your mum's financial investments. So definitely try and avoid any conflicts of interest. You know, different family members might have different ideas about where mum is best to be placed and what kind of financial plans need to be put in place for her care and for after she passes away for the future. So I definitely see a big part of my role and advisors' role who are working in this area to provide that independent, objective, professional advice which can give her the best possible plan for her individual circumstances. So the way we and other later life advisors work is we tend to have an initial meeting with you, the attorneys, and maybe mum as well if she's up to it. Very relaxed initial meeting just to kind of breathe and get that initial overview of the situation and make sure that you're getting all of the options in front of you, and then we can make the best decisions on the back of that. It's a horrible, stressful time. We're completely aware of that. We're used to dealing in these situations, so definitely get in touch because this is how we help clients for an initial meeting. I hope that's been useful as just to give you a flavour of the kinds of things and concepts and principles and things to think about. It can be a horribly complex and stressful time, so as I said, our main role really is to give you that peace of mind that you're doing your very best for your mum. I hope that's been useful as a kind of an introduction anyway into what the kind of things to think about. And we're here for you, so definitely get in touch and we can kind of have that initial chat. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you again next time. Okay, bye.